Hello, my friends. Welcome to this video. We're going to be talking about the 3 steps to building strong relationships with important people, with valuable people, with influential people, people that are going to add value to your life, that are going to benefit you and help you move forward in life, help you make more money, help you in so many different areas of your life. So if you're down with that, stick around. My name is Nico Rapklis. If you are new here, I was invigorated and excited and inspired to make this video because a friend reached out to me. He was talking about how he really wanted to build strong relationships with certain people, and it felt like it was not going exactly the way he wanted it. So I wanted to share this video, and I wanted to actually bring up several examples. So the boy's gonna cook on this video. I'm gonna freestyle a little bit. We got the 3 steps. But I'm going to dive deep into this stuff. And really what this is ultimately doing is this is helping you build your authentic brand. Okay. And interestingly enough, I never thought I would get back to this, but this is effectively what we are really diving into. It's part of the woo and do process. If you're familiar around here or our Skool Community, strongly recommend that you join. We have over almost 800 members in that group now. But that's one of the big pillars that we teach is how to build an authentic brand, because brand is ultimately attracting and nurturing relationships. And if you do it online, you can actually scale it. And it's one of the most profitable things that you can do at this point in time. And I'm going to share a couple stories, and I'm going to share several different examples, in fact, probably like 3 or 4 examples of how I've built and nurtured really strong relationships with people that have millions of followers, have made hundreds of millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, and just really amazing, cool people that have big hearts. So if you're down with that, I strongly recommend that you stick around, maybe even send this to a friend, because like I said, the kid's going to cook on this one. And one story I want to share with you real quick. So a mentor of mine that's done well over $100 million. I was hanging out with him recently, and I was asking him a little bit more about like, hey, I'd like to get this person on my podcast. In fact, Joe Dispenza, and because I saw him and the two of them were hanging out together recently, and I was like, hey, I'd love to have Dr. Joe on my podcast. Could you hook it up? And he said yes, and I'd like to share with you what's really important about getting people on your podcast, and then therefore getting on other people's podcasts, which all correlates and relates to everything we're going to be sharing here on how to build strong relationships. So he was sharing that with me, and it actually kind of surprised me because he didn't tell me exactly what I thought I would hear, right? But this all applies to exactly what I'm going to be telling you on this video and explaining on this video. And then the other story I want to share with you real quick as well is there's a guy that's local here in Scottsdale, probably one of the most influential people here in the Scottsdale area. And I actually got introduced to him by another guy that is extremely successful in his own right. He introduced me because he's like, dude, I think you guys need to meet. And I was like, all right, cool. I didn't even really know who this guy was. He introduced me. You know, this guy has done incredible things. He travels all over the world doing huge business deals. And what's interesting is that he started in nightlife. And something that he told me is that in nightlife is that you can basically do 3 different things in nightlife. 1, you can party and go after girls. 2, you can just go there to make money. And then 3 is that you can build a network. And the interesting thing is that if you do one of these very proficiently, it opens up every other one. Can you guess what that is? I'd love to hear it in the comments. Maybe I'll actually share it here in a second. But let's dive into this, because these stories that I've shared, these stories that I'm going to share, all adhere to these 3 steps. Okay, so let's dive in. I've already got marker ink all over me, so I'm taking a hit for you guys here. So make sure and subscribe. And let's dive in. Okay, so number 1, and I hope you guys like my arrows, and I'm getting really fancy with these drawings. I even said, this is going to give you a smiley face and a $sign too, because again, when you build the network, that is where everything comes in. Okay, so identify who and why. So for my friend that reached out to me and was like, hey, I'd like to build relationships with these guys, And like where my mind goes first and foremost is like, okay, you've identified the people that you want to build relationships, but why? And this is a really important question. It's honestly like one of my favorite questions is why, right? And the reason that I ask this is because, coming back to this whole concept of building your authentic brand is, when you're building relationships, or you're attempting to build relationships with people when you don't know why, or even more so when you have malintentions, people can feel that. I personally have felt that. I know people that have even become clients and bought some of my products and services simply because I know that they're trying to build a relationship with me. And that's a whole nother story, but like I can feel that. Now I'm very intuitive, I'm very perceptive, I can feel people, and I can feel that stuff right away. Maybe some people aren't the exact same, but generally speaking, if you're building relationships for the wrong reasons, or you don't even know why you're building the relationship, you're climbing an uphill battle. So that's why it's really important to know who you're building a relationship and why you're building a relationship with them, right? So really think on that. Why do you want to build a relationship with them? And here's another quick story that I'll share with you that's really, really important. Think about it like this, and I'm gonna sell you on why you want to build strong relationships with strong, influential people that make lots of money, are great people, and all that, okay? Because think about it like this. You've heard it all the time, right? You become like the 5 people you spend the most time with, or the average of the people you spend the most time with, right? And we've all heard that, right? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. If you have, let us know down below. I'd love to just continue to get a gauge on what you guys are feeling and hearing from this. Always helps me understand you guys, and that way I can make better content. And when you can ask questions down below, I can also make specific videos for you guys, which is in fact what I did on this video, right? So coming back to this whole concept of like you become the average of the people you surround yourself with. But think about this from even just like a more granular standpoint. We'll just use money and financials because that's easier to track. It could be relationship wise, it could be health wise, it could be heart center wise. But if you are hanging around with 5 people most of the time and they're all making $100,000 a year take home, okay, think about that. They all are. So we got 5 people, they're all making $100,000 a year take home. You add that all up, right? 5 people, $100,000, that's $500,000. You divide that by 5 because now that is the average. That is your income cap. That is literally your income cap. And until you inject a new person into the mix that's making $200,000 a year, $500,000 a year, whatever it is, you're not going above $100,000. And again, this could relate to if you're hanging out with all guys that have all 6-pack abs, you're going to be the 6th. If you're hanging out with people that are all married, you're going to be the 6th, right? So that's your cap, right? So just continue to think on that. And that's why it's so important to identify. So like for me, I'm always looking to level up my circle, and I want to continue to hang around with people that are making more money than me, that are in happy, committed relationships, that value their health, because ultimately that's raising my capabilities to get to the next level, which I'm always learning and I'm always growing and wanting to get to the next level while enjoying the process all along the way. Okay? So once we have identified who we want to build the relationships, why, this is arguably, all these are so good, but utility. Okay? Number 2 is utility. You got to find the utility. Now, what even the heck is utility? I'll tell you. Thanks for asking. So utility, what do most people think about with building relationships? I want to give this person value. I want to give them value. What the heck does that even mean? What does value mean? Please let me know down in the comments. What does value mean? And I guarantee you can't come off rip with it, because of the fact that value is always dependent on the person that's receiving it or giving it. Like everyone perceives value differently, and that's why I like to use utility over value. Utility is what's actually valuable to that person. Coming back to money, like if I gave someone $100,000, that might give someone a ton of utility, a ton of value, right? But if I gave that to a billionaire, they'd be like, okay, cool, whatever, right? At the same time, if I connected somebody with somebody else, then, and like that person, let's just say let's just come back to that one again. Someone that's, making 50K a year, and I connect him with somebody that's got millions of followers, and let's go with this. If someone's making 50K a year and I connect them with someone that's making $1 million a year, that gives them huge value. But if I introduce someone that is a billionaire to someone that's making $50,000 a year, it's not that much value, right? So you got to always understand utility, okay? And that's why it's so important to actually, one, do your due diligence, do your due diligence on the people that you're wanting to build these relationships with. And then when you're in conversation, actually look to pull an understanding of what is going to give them utility, right? And that's why some of my favorite questions when I'm in conversation is like, what is going to give you value? And what is your challenge? So I'll give you a direct example with this, and is with a good friend of mine who runs a good friend and client. When I met him, he was doing 7 figures. Now he's doing mid 8 figures. And I'm sure you might have seen his stuff before of what we've shared, but we did an interview with him in his multi-million-dollar home. And so what's interesting is that like you might think what would give him value. I might have thought I knew what would give him value. So obviously we worked together and we helped him in a lot of ways of crafting his vision and clarifying that and helping him, really just start understanding himself more on a deeper level. And that really helped skyrocket everything. But from there, once we kind of concluded our business relationship, then we started cultivating a friendship. And so what I asked him one day is, people are always wanting to build relationships with him. He's one of the most sought after people in the city, let alone state. And I mean, he's very well sought after, right? And so many people want to bring him value. And he's even told me this directly. He feels like everybody wants something from him. And so it was interesting. I didn't even necessarily think about it like that, of like, what can I get from this guy that's just coming from my nature and my vision and my authentic brand. But then I just simply asked him. That's why it's so important to ask these type of questions. But I asked him, I was like, how can I give you value? Like, what would give you value? And what he told me is that, like, he's like, if you can just like introduce me to cool people that don't want anything from me, that would be really cool. I was like, all right, bet, can do. And so I kept on inviting him to different events, different parties, different things. And that helped us build a stronger relationship, right? And then now it's cultivated, and we do this kind of joint men's circle. And then I continue to bring people to him. He loves that at his multi-million-dollar home. And it's just a lot of fun, right? And it serves both of us. But that never would have came if I didn't understand his utility, right? Some people might have thought like, oh, if I can just introduce him to another guy that's making, multiple millions of dollars, or if I can run his ads or whatever it is, it might have been that might have given value, but you don't know what would give him value, more so utility, until you start asking. And so the interesting thing is that the higher levels you go up is like, sometimes you don't even have the time to be able to ask them those questions. So that's why it's important to do your due diligence. And so coming back to my friend that reached out to me and asked me like, I wanted to build relationships with these certain people. One of the things that I would directly ask him, I was like, well, why? First of all, why do you want to build a relationship with them? And then what would give them utility? Because, if he really did his due diligence and understood what would give these people value, and then he just simply delivered it, that would pretty much solve everything. And we're going to get into point number 3 here in a second. But that's why, like, always understanding what is important to them. And so from my example too, is like, there's certain people that I'm intentionally building relationships with. And sometimes it's the higher levels you go up, it gets more challenging. And I also look at it like a kind of a fun game. It's like, what I got to do to build a relationship with? Like, how can I finesse this a little bit? Because there's a friend of mine that I recently connected with. Well, not recently. I've known him for a little while here in Arizona. He is a baseball player as well. So we've got kind of a unique dynamic with that. And it's interesting because I've been wanting to like build this relationship, and I was about to say the word. Let me know if you guys can think about what the word for number 3 is going to be. But I wanted to continue to cultivate this relationship, and I send him text messages. I send him Instagram DMs. I'm asking, hey, let's jump on a call. Hey, let's grab coffee. Or I didn't necessarily grab coffee or anything like that, but I'm like, hey, let's connect. Like, let's see how we can add value to one another. Let's see how we can exchange value. And that's always my approach. Like, how can we make this a win-win involved for everybody that's around this? And that's really what it is. Like, I want to incorporate people into my life that's going to add value to me. So it's going to just raise my, financial temperature, my health temperature, my relationship temperature, just continue to raise the bar so I can continue to gravitate more to that. So I just want this guy in my life more. There's nothing like, hey, I want to do business with him or anything like that. But, after a while, like, he just like wasn't hitting me back at all. And so then I run into him I'll take that back. He actually is part of this company that's all about, it's a nonprofit that's all about helping the war against sex trafficking, right? And so powerful organization that they have, and it's heavy, right? And so I'm like, well, I want to build a relationship with this guy. I instinctively know, like, he's promoting this, he's talking about this on social media a lot, he's wearing their brand, and I'm like, oh, well, obviously, like, utility, that's what's important to him. That's what's important to him, right? So, okay, my deductive reasoning skills, after like just kind of looking at him and looking at what he's doing, what he's posting, what's important to him, I go to the event. Not only do I go to the event, I buy a hat. I rock the hat. I take pictures in that hat. I make an Instagram post. I tag him in it. I tag all these other people. I get a bunch of more exposure to his company, right? And that's like, it's still like, we had a great conversation. We're like, hey, we should talk. And then I even had this idea. I was like, hey, I'd love for you to incorporate you in my event coming up here soon. We pulled about 150 people at that event. And still, he's like, he wouldn't get back to me, right? But I just wanted to share with you, like, that's the intentionality that I have going into building relationships. So think about it from your perspective, and when people, tell me like, hey, I'd love to grab, even somebody reached out to me and was like, hey, can you grab lunch this weekend? I was like, I mean, at certain points, I just don't have the capacity to even respond to that kind of stuff because it just doesn't make sense. Like, I hear this a lot of time. People like say, hey, I'd love to go grab a coffee and pick your brain. I'm like, get away from my brain. Like, there will be no picking of my brain, right? I am really intentional about building relationships where there's an even energy exchange. And if you just want to come in and pick my brain, same as saying I want to extract value from you. I don't necessarily want to give value. I don't want to exchange value. I want to receive value. Why would I want to build a relationship with you? I'm only interested in building relationships with people where there's an even energy exchange and bring me closer to God. But just think about that, right? If you're wanting to build a relationship with someone, find out what's important to them. For me, for people that reach out to me, if they were, if they took this approach, what they would do is they would get in my Skool community. They would start liking and commenting on a lot of my content. They would share my content. They might even buy a Vision Espresso. They might get in my coaching program, because I'll tell you what, the people that I'm building strong relationships right now, they're the ones that are coming to my events. They're the ones that are joining my coaching programs. I mean, just like what I share with you, my friend James, who has the 8-figure marketing agency, like, he was a client first. That's how we started our relationship. We built a business relationship, and then it spawned on a deeper friendship from that. So just think about that. Like, especially people that are building businesses, that's what's important to them. Where are they investing most of their time? Wherever you see where they're investing most of the time and you want to build a relationship with them, show them that you want to build a relationship. So it's really important, and we could go far deeper than that on utility, but that is very, very important to find out what is their utility in terms of conversation you're having with them. You can kind of figure that out through the conversation by asking very intelligent questions. But then at the same time is like, do your research. And sometimes, here's the last part, point number 3. You gotta nurture. Okay, you got to nurture those relationships. Just like I was sharing within that story about like, I was providing a lot of value up front, saying, hey, I'll come to your event. I'm going to promote your event. I'll even want to bring you into my event and put you in front of 150 people live, and still like he wouldn't get on a call with me. But that's okay, because the third part is nurture. Think about it like this. What is nurture? Nurture is not like, let's extract the plant and pull the plant out. Nurture is just continue to build the plant. You're building the plant. You're building the plant, right? And I'll tell you what, like there's still people like, there's some examples too where like I went to extract the plant too quickly. And it's, it is what it is. But like when you get a little bit too aggressive with your approach, that's when people can kind of feel a little off put. But at the same time, like it's a timing game. It's a timing game. So sometimes people are really busy and they just don't have space. Like even some of my best friends that I want to get connected with them, they're just in a space of building, and they just don't have time to like even respond to text messages or DMs or get on calls. Same for me. Like I had someone reach out, as a good friend, and she's like, hey, I'd love to chat with you. I'd love to have some good conversations with you. Because I just would love to hear your perspective on some of the things I got going on. And I'm like, I sent her a message back, and I was like, I would love that. I really would. I just don't have space for that right now. And so that's just the reality of things, is sometimes people just don't have space for it. But oftentimes they do have space for the right offer. So if you put things together that make it very incentivizing for them to want to engage with you, then they're more likely to say yes. That's why I throw events. That's why I do little dinners. That's why I throw these men's groups, and I put them in multi-million-dollar homes, and I do them with other really cool people that could give value, and I want to introduce people at my events, and I'm always looking for more enticing ways and putting out strong offers to people that make it incentivizing for them to want to come hang out with me, and I can introduce them to people, and I can have conversations with them, and I do it in a very leveraged way, because that, again, is building my authentic brand. Because authentic brand is really all about building and nurturing relationships at scale. And you can use social media, because now you can tag everybody in the post, and that's how you really start building relationships at scale. Is like you really start putting together things and inviting people to things, and just making yourself top of mind. Okay, how can you make yourself top of mind to the people that you want to build relationships with, right? So that's why nurture also consists of social media. It was interesting. Another quick story here is that there's a guy that was local here in Scottsdale, and I'd seen him on Instagram a time or two, and he has a really big following and seems like a pretty successful guy. He doesn't live here anymore, but I saw him at a coffee shop, and I was like, I should go talk to him. And so I did, and that was kind of the space when I was exiting kind of the marketing world. So it's kind of funny how I'm coming back to helping people build their authentic brands. But I went and approached him, and it was interesting because I had somebody that was wanting us to help them with their marketing. And I was just feeling a little burnt out, and that's when I was transitioning over to my podcast and everything that we're doing now. And I was literally like, hey man, I know we don't know each other that well, but I actually just want to like give you a client. Are you open to that? And most people would be like, yeah, duh. And it was interesting because he like pushed me off. He was like, yeah, thanks man. Yeah, cool. Awesome. Appreciate it. And then I was like, okay. And then I would hit him a couple times, because ultimately what I wanted to do is I wanted to connect him with this client, because again, here's the other thing, and I'll just revert back onto this real quick, is that being a connector is one of the most powerful things that you can do in terms of is within the utility and the nurture. Because if you have two people that you want to build a relationship with, and you connect both of them, and both of them are awesome people, and you build them up and do what's called a high value introduction. And if you guys want to learn more about that, I've got some resources inside of our Skool Community that I can direct you to. So either leave a comment down below, or just send me a message on Instagram or Skool, and I'll direct you exactly to where those resources are. Okay. But a high value introduction basically it puts you in a positive light, it puts everyone else in a positive light, and then they'll eventually want to reciprocate. And I've done this with people that have millions and millions of followers with other people that have millions and millions of followers, and because of the fact that I introduced both of them, they look at me in a more positive light, right? But here's the thing, is that this guy, he just kind of like pushed me off, and I thought that was really weird. But we did connect on social media, on Instagram. And what was interesting is I obviously was just doing my thing and continuing to post content. And then eventually he reaches out and says, hey man, would love to connect, would love to sit down and have a conversation and chat. Now he ultimately told me, he's like, because I've been seeing you show up on social media. I've been seeing you nurture. I've been seeing you follow up, right? But people are watching. People are watching. Even if you don't think they're engaging, they'll always kind of see things. They'll see things, and they're going to pay attention to how you're showing up authentically, right? And that's why it's so important to build an authentic brand. Are you being exactly what you say you're being? And that's the thing that draws me to people the most. So if you're not being authentic, I can quickly tell, and that's typically I'll just start distancing myself from people that are not in their truest authentic nature. And there's nothing, no shame or judgment around that, but that's just like, I'll feel that. And that's one reason why I won't necessarily take the time to invest in building a relationship with that person. And I'm always looking at it from a strategical standpoint as well. Our vision here is we want to throw stadium podcast events. And so I'm building relationships with people that can help me do that. I'm building relationships with really influential, powerful, affluent people. And that's really my goal right now. So, here's the thing is, like, again, I'll just say on this video as well, is like, I'm just kind of giving you guys some breadcrumbs. If anybody here is like really looking to build a relationship with me, is like, if you could connect me with somebody that could help move that forward significantly, I would have more interest in building a relationship with you, right? And I've already been doing that. I have relationships with people that could bring 5,000 people to an event, 10,000 people to an event, right? And I've been building these relationships for years, and that's the whole point, is that, again, I identify who these people are, and not only identify who they are, but identify where they're going. And that's why vision is so important. That's why we always talk about vision so much. That's the second pillar in the woo and do process. And that's ultimately how I've been able to build strong relationships, because I am consistently sharing my vision, which is then turning into my brand. And then people know me for that. For that, everyone knows that I want to build a podcast stadium event, and because of that, they're inspired by it. They want to be around me. They see me living authentically because I'm operating in that sense. So it's how you continue to show up. It's identifying who you want to build relationships. It's about identifying, like, where are they going? And like, some of my friends that have probably the biggest Instagram page in Arizona, I saw them when they had, 80,000, 100,000 followers. Now they have like 1.2, 1.3 million. So I saw that early on where they were going, what their vision was. And now I've like cultivated that relationship for years. It's been like 5-6 years. I've cultivated a relationship with them. I've never asked them for anything, but yet they still give me value. They're like, hey, let's go all get on a boat, rally a couple people and we'll go. And I brought a bunch of girls and some cool guys, and we all got on a boat and we created content out of that. They shared that post that I made, and it got like 70,000 views on Instagram, when most of mine get like 2,000, 3,000 views, right? Look how quickly things can happen when you are connected with people that are very influential and have big audiences, right? It's powerful, right? And so I guess I'll close out with this. This is perfect timing to finish up this loop. So the guy that I was telling you about, that was one of the most influential people here in Scottsdale, he told me about how he started in nightlife. And he said there's 3 ways you can go in nightlife. You can go for making money, you can go party and chase girls, and the last one is you can build your network. And he said one unlocks everything else, and that is building your network. Because if you consistently pour into and build relationships with amazing people that have big hearts and big visions and are influential and are great people and are great communicators and have just this ambitious, heartfelt attitude about them, you've got everything. And not to say like girls and partying is your thing. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But like, when you have a network, when you have a powerful network and you have a strong relationship with that network, like, you can call and ask people, hey, can you hook me up with this? Hey, can you link me with this? it's so powerful when you build a strong network. So I told you that the boy was going to cook on this one. We did about 30 minutes, which usually we save those for the whiteboard videos, but we're just riffing tonight, and had to make out some of my cool drawings. So again, identify what, who, and why, figure out what their utility is, and then nurture that utility. Those are the 3 steps. And if you want to dive even deeper into this type of concept, obviously we have our Skool Community. It's a free community right now. We'll likely make it paid here soon. But then we also have our Vision Accelerator program where we dive deep into these topics, and we can build out more of a customized game plan specifically for you and actually hold you accountable to that. And that's all part of the woo and do process. So it's powerful stuff. I'll have links down below where you can learn more about the woo and do process. I have a video, and then you can book a call if this stuff resonates with you to the point where you're ready to take us to the next level and spiral up. So thank you for watching this video. I love y'all. Make sure and subscribe. We're on a mission to building this channel into 20,000 magnetic manifestors that are doing it from the woo standpoint and the do standpoint. They're living authentically, and then they're building strategy that actually helps them build that into reality a lot quicker. So thank you for watching this video. My name is Nico Rapagles, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.